thing that we're going to do is just to present ourselves, and we will just say name and nationality just to know each other. Probably we already almost know each other, but just in case to be able to... Exactly. Yeah. On the record. So, I'm Guido, I'm from Italy. Who wants to start?
I'm Sylvia from Poland.
Michele from Italy.
Riccardo from Poland.
Cinzia, Australia.
Baden, Italy.
Poland.
Maya, Poland.
Zosia, Poland.
Okay.
No, also, we have to ask you.
Nobody knows.
It's a mystery. So, now you can raise your hand and propose which argument you would like to discuss tonight. Because we're going to pick up one later on. Now we need just the title. For example, something like love, happiness, or stuff like that. Later on, you will be able to explain what do you mean with this word, okay? So just raise your hand and propose some argument.
It's going to be along the format of Oxford debate. There'll be for and against, and later we discuss pros and cons of this argument. I mean, of the idea. Not.
Don't waste the surprise.
Okay. We don't know what to say. Right.
Just one more. Europe? With or you?
Do we have an argument up there?
Argument?
Topic, sorry.
Topic, yeah. Europe, maybe.
Europe.
Is it dead or is it just beginning or what?
Quite tough. Argument, yeah. There are no German people, so.
Yeah, where is Dennis?
Yeah, because he told that it's going. It's coming, so.
It will be maybe a little bit late.
No, I was just eating.
Yeah.
It's over the door.
Do we have other arguments? Other topics? Sorry, I'm translating directly from Italian.
Okay, I'm going to have something special because you inspired me with your device. 3D printing as a source for creativity. 3D printers, 3D printers like the ones they have, as a fountain of creativity. Fountain of youth.
Zosia? I know you have one. Don't even try to not have it.
How do you know that I have something?
Because you already said it.
That's true. So the thing, just I think the last time, is a happiness inside or outside job? Because it's time you didn't say it. But it's okay. It's just my idea out always.
Happiness?
It's a good one. Happiness is inside or outside job. I mean, where you take actual happiness from out.
You will explain on that.
Okay.
Buddy.
Right. We live near Plac Kościuszki, and just around the corner there's the head office.
You will explain it later, just the title of the
Okay.
topic.
Why is there a police van always standing opposite the Śląsk football club? 24/7.
Why there is a police van?
Standing all parked
Parked in front of.
the Śląsk football
I
club.
think I know the answer.
In front of your flat. So the question is,
Police and
Not a true love.
Why they are not friends?
Why are not police friends with anybody?
But this time they are police friends here and they're very nice.
There is no football.
maybe yesterday there was some football. So, other arguments? Somebody else have some idea?
Technology is the end of work, meaning
Other topics?
I always had some people talking about disco polo. What is disco polo?
This one.
What is this?
Okay.
It's the 80s in Polish.
Okay. Okay.
Popular disco music.
So Raffaella
I forget
Carrà.
what the topic.
No, it's Italo Polo. It's,
Yeah, sì, ma il suo stile.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Disco Italy. Okay, do we have other topics?
Manners. Yeah. Are they needed? Are they obsolete? Or do we need more? Should we return? Being
We will
polite.
explain later.
Being polite.
Okay, just try
Yeah,
to...
but I don't understand this word.
Later on she will explain. Me neither, don't worry.
He needs topic. So even if he doesn't understand.
No, it's British.
Mystery topics.
How do you say in Polish?
Exactly.
Dobre maniery.
Oh,
Galateo.
yeah.
There you go. Translations.
And now?
Oh, I want to say.
Yeah. Someone yes.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot. It's not in the rule of the game. I'm
He is the driver.
Ah, it's fine by Margarita Hack. Someone posted on Facebook a photo with a quote that says, Margarita Hack. I don't believe in God, but if when I die I meet him, I will apologize for being wrong.
He's near La Place.
If he doesn't accept the apology, well,
He will, it's his business.
exactly. Well, that's what you think.
Would you like to discuss about apologies?
Oh, I think that goes with manners. maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was more a reference to God, but let's not go there. I just like the quote. I wanted to share it. Yeah.
Normally we take 10, for the moment we have 6, so still 4 if you want.
Will we have time to discuss all of them?
No, we'll just pick up 1.
One. Oh.
Yeah.
But you've got to choose out of this selection.
We can say also Germany and Italy, a story of love and hate.
Germany
Why?
and another part of
Love,
Europe.
hate, and need.
Yeah, but between
Yeah,
Germany and
maybe.
Italy there is a very strong relationship because, you know,
Yeah.
German people are,
But what would they do without each other, you see? The contrast, I think.
And Italian and French people?
No, Italian and French people
Distant
are,
cousins.
yeah, we are cousins, so, you know.
But last time I think that it's really different situation between Italian and Spanish people. According to Spanish people.
They love
Yes.
one another.
Even
Yeah, we are not,
Maybe just
even
because
if,
of the food.
Not exactly.
but there is some rivalry, but mainly in football and something like that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we
Okay,
lost
guys,
it.
I really have to ask you not to do that. We have to stick to the rules, otherwise we will just get lost.
Yeah, okay, so let's pick up the subject then.
So, now, who else have a topic?
What is coming?
Oh, and
Sometimes.
two more. There you go. Maybe in the
Come
house.
on down.
Some more topics.
Hi.
Loriana is Italian.
Nice to meet you.
And me, you know
Oh.
me mostly.
And you can grab a sack inside and sit down up there.
Thank you. I think you can see me here.
Sì, sì. Dovete prendere queste cose dentro
Sorry for disturbance. So, pick a topic. Yeah. We're suggesting topics now.
Come just at the right time.
Right.
It's short.
Do you have a topic for
About an hour
to discuss?
Actually, today we'll be listening, I think, because we're in a slow mode today. Okay?
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I don't mind, as you prefer.
Drunk, you know.
So, nobody else have any topic? You're just happy with those topics?
Yes.
coming here you were just thinking about to discuss one of those, or there is still something that you would like to discuss that is not on the list?
But what's on the list? Tell me.
So the list is from Cinzia, Europe, from Richard, 3D printers as a fountain of creativity, from Zosia, happiness inside or outside, from Vadim, police and football, from Michele, is it technology the end of work, from Cinzia, manners, from Michele once again, Germany and Italy, love and hate.
Wow. Wide range of topic.
Okay, then we just go to the second phase. Cinzia, can you just explain us in about 2 minutes why you would like to discuss the topic Europe? I mean, what do you mean with this topic and why you're interested in talking about it?
Well, Europe as a project, I guess, has gone through its ups and downs, and at the moment it's going through one of its worst periods in history since the first few was it Italy, France, Germany, and whoever else decided to form this partnership. Belgium and yes, and others without reciting the whole list. And now it seems to be running into serious difficulties, and you have the UK, as always, talking about leaving and the whole idea perhaps imploding. So where to from here? Is it a failure, or is it just a difficult time in a polygamous marriage? Or multigamous marriage, maybe, or something. Yeah.
Communal marriage.
It's polyandrous, polygamous situation. So are we just going through a very, very rough patch, or is there... So when we get past this, are we going to come through with a brand new, better, stronger Europe, or something severely weakened and going back to older ideas of nationality?
Richard, in 2 minutes, about 2 minutes, explain us what do you mean and why you don't want to discuss the argument, the topic 3D printers as a fountain of creativity.
So as the majority of people know already, Panato, this institutions, this community, they came up with a very creative idea of installing a 3D printer, a thing which I know only from third hand, that is from some articles. There is there's a lizard on the wall you can admire already, and just gave me an idea that anybody can come up with very creative ideas and test them firsthand. As you know, to create such a thing and to make sure that it's robust, it can withstand pressure and so on. It's quite time-consuming and requires skills. Whereas this 3D printer seems a solution for a number of ideas that we never thought of implementing for lack of skills or even materials. That's it.
Zosia, happiness inside or outside?
So everyone knows what is happiness. I mean, at least we know when we feel happy. But the thing is, what is more important? Because of course, some people claim that if they have new car, new flat, a good salary, then they will be happy. But the question is, how about people who don't have all this and they can be happier than majority of people, very rich people? So the question is, if the feeling comes from outside, as I mentioned, from outside possibilities which we have or situation, or from us, just from the inside.
That's brief.
Yeah, it's brief, I think.
Okay. Vadim, police and football.
Polish police and Polish football.
Well, I guess I was using the example of this police van standing in front of the football club here in Wrocław, but the discussion can be extended to other countries, other clubs, not just here in Poland. There seems to be some strong connections between some not very nice people, not very nice fans, and some football clubs. So it is quite common in some many countries, and it'd be interesting maybe to try and understand the reasons why there seems to be such a strong connection between these movements and sport, and football in particular, which doesn't seem to be as common in other sports, in other situations.
Okay, and can you just tell us the brief story that you were telling before when I stopped you?
That in front of your apartment there is a police van all the time?
Yeah, well,
Around
there's
the
only,
corner.
yeah, just around the corner.
But say, what's the relation does it have to do with fast shows?
Because
that's the
that's
question.
That's where the fan club is.
Yeah, that's the fan club is there.
Yeah.
And
So
every
that's
time
why
I go
we're
by,
aware of it.
every time I pass by, there is this police van standing there 24/7. It's always
Yes.
there. I don't know. Maybe there is a reason. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe
Or they are fans of Schlong.
maybe they bought it. Maybe it's theirs. Who knows? Maybe they use
They
it.
live there.
Most likely they have high resolution cameras.
So anyway,
Now I understand. I thought that you mean the actual stadium.
no, that's right. That's the
No, no.
football. Yeah,
In town,
the fan
yeah.
club.
So it's looking at the connection basically between violence and football.
Got it,
The sort of like nationalist and other,
Well, there's others.
like how these other, how young people who are fans of football somehow also get caught up in organisations associated with violence and other things.
Very topical question, you see.
Okay. Michele, is it technology the end of work?
Yeah, mainly the powerful of PC, of predictive model, of mathematics, design of experiment. Now there is a lot of program that helps you to better identify correlation between chemical, mathematic, physics stuff that scare a little bit chemists and people working in science, because why a computer in next future can do that instead of you and discover correlation between parameters that easily found in your life, that and also for right now in finance a lot of computers are used. They put cable between USA and England for having milliseconds connection for finance prediction, for putting down some OPA, I don't know in English, or OPA, but buying financial derivatives and stuff like that. So looks that computers are the next workers. What's the future for a human being? If you, because a lot of people take the happiness and joy from their work. If you have not work, which can be the future for all of us.
Cinzia, manners.
Well, there's over the generations, there's always been certain set ideas in every culture about what is acceptable and not acceptable behaviour, the right things to say and do in certain situations, which is kind of like a social oil for society to get along, to not hurt each other so much, or a kind of guide to help you navigate through society. And they keep changing all the time. But in some cases, as society is changing, some of these manners are disappearing. Do we need them or not need them? Like, are manners really necessary? Is the social oil necessary? And if so, you know, how it can adapt? I guess, yeah. The role of manners in society. Is it just artifice? Is it just for show? Or is there a real function? Yeah?
Yeah. Michele, Germany and Italy, love and hate.
We start from the
Giordano Bruno against Hegel.
no, pizza against beer. No, yeah, it's you know, for example, always fascinate me for example in music, classical music, the best opera and the best classical music came mainly from Italy and from Germany. That has completely two different way of see the life. Also in philosophy, that Germany maybe a little bit more, but also in Italy we have a very long history about that. Also in business, right? Till 5 years ago, German company were fighting against Italian company in mechanics, in buildings, streets, bridges, a lot of stuff with completely two different way of thinking. And this always fascinated me because it's something very strong, arriving at the same point from two completely different streets. It's not the case of football because Germany lose every game against Italy, but this is another story.
There's something else happening there.
Not yet.
Maybe. There's another trend there.
Okay, now we try to just defend the topic of somebody else, okay? So let's start with Europe, and with 2 minutes, somebody that is not Cinzia, explain to us why he would like to discuss this one.
If you would like to discuss it.
But I think that somebody, of course, will want to discuss.
There are common threads in the other topics that have been raised already, that is Italy and Germany, even the football hooliganism and...
Richard, do you want to defend the argument Europe?
Yes. So I say that within Cinzia's topic for discussion Europe, there are other topics included, that is Germany versus Italy, and even football hooliganism, who has a European connection and dimensions. So if we choose Cinzia's, then 2 or 3 topics will have been covered.
So who want to defend the argument 3D printers as a fountain of creativity?
Okay, 3D printing is unusual, it's something different, it's something new. And if someone makes a project using Photoshop or another software, which is useful for it, I mean, which can do such project, then it's nice to print it. I mean, it's not only virtual on the computer or on the paper, but it becomes a real thing, like a sculpture done at the beginning not by software, and then it's recreated by the printer. So I think it can be created by the modern one, but I mean, computer have a little bit more freedom, gives us the sort of freedom because of the shapes, which sometimes sculpture is not able to do by hands. So,
You can scan, for example,
Yeah.
face print.
Oh,
that can be-
but you have it. Happiness inside or outside? Who want to defend happiness inside or outside?
It's fine.
Actually, it's a deceptively, your brief discussion was deceptively made it seem simple, but in fact it's actually a complex question, isn't it? In a way, happiness is something that appears to be very easy to achieve, as you said, in the poorer societies. Somehow with less resources they manage to be happier. Somehow along the way, when we get more money and more possibilities, somehow we lose this ability to do it. We keep thinking more money and other things can help us do it. So it makes you wonder, what is the real source of it? Is it the lack of something? Is it the absence of something? Or is it the possession of something? And what is this something? Maybe we think it's things, and maybe in fact it's something less tangible. So, and what it is. So it's actually a good topic in that sense. But it is a complex one that many have tackled, but everyone can add their little bit, because everyone has a different perspective.
Okay, so somebody that is not Vadim, please defend police and football.
I would like to, because in my opinion it's a long history, and it's the wrong way of proceeding to avoid the trouble. Because putting violence against violence is not a way how to proceed.
That's all?
We can speak more, but
No,
yeah.
normally it's 2 minutes. And you made
Okay,
something
sorry.
You made something in like 30 seconds, but you
Yeah.
can stop if you want.
No. Because this kind of problem was seen around Europe, but in some country they fight against them against this trouble with other weapons that wasn't police. So with control, with rising the price, for example, of tickets, and also controlling deep control in the people who was going to the stadium. Not using police, and they won the battle against hooligan. So, for example, in England, so police is not the right way. Obviously, it's the easiest, but it's not the right one. So, going deeply in this argument, in my opinion, is a very good task.
You can dig in the non-violence theory of Gandhi.
No, because football is a war between two teams.
But Gandhi had a huge series about everything. Yeah, about violence, I mean, of course, not everything in general. Just
But the intent of football is not violence.
No.
So
It's scoring.
competition.
Yeah.
not officially, at least.
Not officially. But, in fact, it's actually an alternative. That could
No,
go
it's
into
not,
a
yeah.
philosophical discussion.
Okay, somebody about manners.
Then do war.
Somebody about manners.
Me, once again. So manners make the man, it's already in saying, and I think that manners were actually less prominent in the previous ages. That is, there were fewer people, they lived more far apart, and actually we didn't need manners that much, say, ages ago. And now, the more concentrated we become, the more close to one another, this physical connection, require more manners, actually. So manners, I believe, are going to be a more important topic the more developed the society becomes. So we should discuss it already now.
Okay. Songs on the window. Oh no, sorry. Germany and Italy love and hate. Germany and Italy love and hate somebody that is not Michele.
Anyone?
I can say something about it maybe. Well, as it was said before, it is very interesting because they are two very proud nations, very long history of music and architecture and other things, also technology and economy as well. So I think it will be interesting to talk about the two countries, and maybe look at some of the differences. Why Germany has had. I guess if you look at the economy, obviously you can see differences, especially these days. Germany has a very strong economy, Italy not so much, and also maybe culturally as well. Maybe sort of Italy is a little bit on a decline at the moment, maybe compared to other countries. Maybe Germany not so much. So why are these things happening? What's causing Italy sort of to be sort of going downhill at the moment, maybe compared to Germany, and sort of look at some of these differences.
Okay, now we will have a little pause to take a coffee. I'd say 10 minutes or so, and then we will vote and discuss the argument that we will choose. In the meanwhile, I had a little idea, because in theory here they must have a coffee shop, and they will, but still the coffee shop wasn't ready, so they had to buy biscuits and stuff. So if everybody that hadn't brought something can just leave something like maybe 5 zloty or something like that, it will really help the center that really need to have a little bit of money to keep going.
Yeah.
Where's the kitty?
Where's
Where's the kitty?
We'll create
what?
it. The kitty is where they put the money. It's like the plot.
Yeah, exactly. I just told me 3 seconds left.
It's an Anglo term for kind of where the sort of communal point of where you put the money in for such a situation.
The kitty.
Yeah, the kitty. Yeah, it's a money for say
Like little
temporary.
cat.
Yeah, but that's not the meaning. It's
Yeah,
come
yeah.
from a different history, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit like the
Yeah.
cash box, in a sense. Yeah.
Yes,
It is, yeah. I think
Yeah.
it was.
Kitty was there.
Kitty to chodzi.
Kitty.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you just, I don't know where to take it, but if you can just provide something.
I don't know.
So, who want to discuss the topic Europe? Raise your hand. Sorry, rule. You can even vote for any topic, okay? It's not a problem. Just raise your hands anytime that you hear an argument that you would like to discuss about.
So we have multiple choices, yeah?
Yes, you can vote even for everyone. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Europe. Raz, dwa, trzy, cztery, pięć, sześć.
Brawo.
Thank you.
It's all good practice.
3D printers as a fountain of creativity.
What? Oh my God! Look at that.
We went with Europe. Well,
Happiness inside or outside? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
a draw.
Want to do another round?
Police and football.
Be boring.
Loriana was a
Want to
hand.
vote for you all?
No, just because you put
One,
you don't
No.
Okay, just raise your hands and keep the position because otherwise I get lost. Sorry.
He has raised his hand. Yes, he's ready.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Okay, then it's
Wow.
2.
Okay, let's see the football match.
You can
Let's play it.
You can have second thoughts.
Basta film.
Is it technology the end of work?
Whoa, look at that.
Raz, dwa, trzy, cztery, pięć, sześć, siedem.
Goodness. What's that?
Manners. Who wants to discuss about manners?
Oh, okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow.
Rocking. See?
Germany and Italy, love and hate. She's so convinced that maybe she counts 2. 1,
She's
2,
going to
3,
Austria. To stay in the
4.
middle.
Switzerland.
Also, yeah.
Tylko 4. Więc manners.
Okay, well.
Manners?
Manners.
Nie.
The one, yeah?
What?
I'm
There's
sorry.
one already.
The winner is... Oh, what else? No, that's sorry.
No, what?
Very Italian behavior. The winner.
Okay, so we will discuss about manners. There is just one rule, and it's very simple. Cinzia will start introducing the topic because she proposed it, and then you will speak one after each other, and you will be not able to answer. Because, for example, if Vadim says something after Cinzia, and Anna wants to speak, but before her turn there is still Kinga and Loriana, then she have to wait for you both. Then I really suggest you to write down what you want to say, if you have some mobile phone or piece of paper, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to remember what you want to say when it's going to be your turn. Just raise your hand when you want to say something. I will put down your name on the list, and you will be able to speak when it's going to be your turn. Now, is it clear for anybody? For everybody?
I don't know, not for me. Are we going to take turns? I mean, like clockwise, or are we going to raise our hands first?
You raise your hands. Okay, so raise your
But you
hands.
may not be picked straight away,
Ah,
so you have
okay,
to wait until.
Aha,
Yeah.
so it goes clockwise as well, yeah? Oh no. Who picks up the speaker, the next presenter? I mean,
I
Who
do.
decides the order? Yeah, you do.
you do.
You just raise your hand, I put your name in the list,
Ah, okay.
and when it's your turn, I call you.
Now I got it.
It's just a very meditative exercise because normally in a normal conversation we just speak at the moment that we want to speak.
Yep.
And it's very difficult for some, and for example for me, and I'm very happy that I don't have to do it. And no, but for me it's even worse because I can say just nothing. I just can put some little provocation from time to time, but just questions, not opinions. So Cinzia.
Okay, so I felt well, I guess I can more or less repeat what I said before, but the idea of manners, do we really need manners? I know myself, I've been brought up with the please and the thank you, and in Italian they also have the please and the thank you idea and things like that. And it can vary from family to family, individual to individual, culture to culture, the importance of these things. And even where and wherever they're important, the rules can be different from one country to another. What you can and can't do, whether you can burp or not burp. But even the basic things, like I said about the pleases and thank yous, that seem to be a kind of social lubricant, a kind of oil that helps all the bits of society move together without too much friction, but also kind of a kind of quick code or a way to navigate society. As you said before, that where there were less people, perhaps we didn't worry about manners so much, and as society, the density of populations, density of centres and things maybe requires it more, or maybe we should become less sensitive. I don't know. So that's the thing. Are manners really necessary? So anyone?
Nobody raised their hand, so anyone
How do you feel
can.
about them?
Kinga.
I've been thinking actually a lot about the subject, being myself exposed to a variety of cultures and people and variety of very strange, sometimes frightening behaviors of the others. Like me being Polish, right, living in different countries to all these years, I would say that we need to create sort of, I don't want to use this word because I'm inappropriate, global, but sort of set of acceptable or not acceptable behaviors for all the cultures around. We have this business guidance, whatever, introduction to the company, cultures and so on, but then in everyday life it doesn't count, right? You need to know that if you face someone and, I don't know, she's from Ghana or whatever else, you need to say, good morning, my name is Kinga and I'm here for such and such purpose or whatever. It's like conventional conversation elsewhere. Would you mind if or would you be so kind to do so for me and such and such, say thank you, goodbye, and this thing. Some of aspects of the other cultures may be shocking. The fact that between Muslim conservative Salafi, the man is not allowed to shake women's hand. So, like for myself, if I face the Arabs and I know about the backgrounds. I'm actually not even attempting to do something which is for me sort of a courtesy, right? Yes, I and this kind of thing. But also for the Indian, with the like hierarchy style of life, or the others, Japanese, extremely polite, extremely well-mannered, but the surface. Inside there's another story, right? But I think creating such a kind of a global, set of behavior and everyday interactions would make our life much easier. And you just said like be less sensitive. I would say yes. Like my personality is I'm very direct. Before I've been thinking about how the other things, what they think about what I said. For the moment I don't care because I have a good intentions always. But I'm always keeping and bearing in my mind that it may hurt someone. So if I have an opportunity to explain why I act such and such, I do. But in daily life, we don't have much time to explain ourselves. And also the others might be not interested, obviously. But I think creating sort of a universal standard of I don't know how to call it, but maybe conduct or something like that would make our lives much easier. And also cultural awareness to the extent that we are aware that what is permissible in a certain society. I don't think we should expect the influx of the, I don't know, Arabian Saudis or the other Salafis in Poland, in this particular part of Europe, especially. But then knowing more about the others always makes you richer, right? And that's the collateral thing. And if it comes to sensitivity, as you mentioned, but it depends on the individual. I wouldn't pay much attention because I am aware that somebody may be very different. I always take people as they are. I always have a good approach to myself. I'm speaking only about my personal perspective, right? My purpose is not to hurt anyone, and if they're not on purpose, not intentionally, right? But again, maybe there's a requirement of additional classes and lectures at schools and at the universities of the cultural diversity and its consequences. So that would be end in mind for myself.
Okay, just a little provocation. Are manners just something external, or do they really reflect some real inside attitude? Just for just for everybody. So, and you're the only one that cannot speak because you already spoke. Exactly. This not just. Of course, nobody can just speak and re-speak.
All right.
Just.
So me too.
No, you can.
Oh, I can.
Because you weren't speaking.
Okay.
Vadim, sorry. Vadim put you in the list after Vadim.
I was thinking just, following from what Kinga was saying about manners and also what, about your comment as well, about whether, manners are just something external, just appearances, or if they come truly from inside, from some real feelings. Well, the question is, we don't know, do we? How do we know that? Often it's very difficult to know. Some people could be very polite, very well-mannered, and they're very pleasant, but then sort of the moment you turn, they stab you in the back. And others, they can be very straightforward, and you might be a bit put off by that if you're not used to it. But maybe it's better because you know exactly where you stand with these people. So it is difficult to know, and I guess possibly the best solution would be, in my view, from as far as I'm concerned, I prefer if people are direct. If they tell me what they think to my face, I think it's easier, it's better. This way, you know what to do and you know what to expect and how to react.
Cinzia.
Yes, I take that point. I think, I guess the question about manners is, as I said, should we be more sensitive? I guess it depends what you're used to. If everyone in society behaves a certain way and everyone is direct, then that's fine. If you see instead that people are treated differently, then you start to maybe feel that there's a difference. And perhaps the idea of manners is where manners go too far and become false, and maybe there's too many layers between the person that's being polite and the person receiving the politeness, then manners are not useful. Instead, someone can be very direct, but if it's showing a lack of awareness. So I think where manners are taught to children from very young is to try and teach them, a bit like spelling, this is how you do it, to be aware of how to be, to learn how to be aware of other people and how they might be feeling. So you say something in a certain way to someone on one day, the next day they may not take it the same way. So maybe it's a kind of way of forcing you to take a step back and soften what you say before you say it, perhaps. So it's creating awareness, and that's within a culture. So having some kind of idea and understanding of manners in other cultures is also a kind of another awareness.
Sasha.
So just back to the think all of your speeches. I was thinking that.
Can you speak up? Something.
Okay, I will do my best. I can't speak very loud. So I was just thinking that there's always one thing with manners, because as you mentioned, Cynthia and Vadim, where's the border when manners are still true, and where's the border then they become false? I mean, but at the same time, when someone is direct, okay, as you mentioned, Kinga, it's always nice because it's honest. But at the same time, I think every of us, everyone, had opportunity to meet someone who was very nice person, very direct, but sometimes too direct, and it finished that somebody felt insulted only because of too direct style. I mean, there's a way when we can express what we want, even if it's not very easy to someone. And I think that there is a way how to do it in polite way, that we won't insult anyone, especially when there's discussion between two persons, of course in front of the others. And then such discussion has to be always well thought, because one word and actually we start to insult someone publicly. And of course it's direct, we don't have bad intentions, but it looks like from the others that this person somehow might feel themselves as worse, only because of the bad way of discussion. So I think that there's a border. But of course manners can be artificial. I mean, because I think that when they start to be false, it's just false. It's true. But at the same time, I think that there should be the golden middle found between being direct, but at the same time being polite. Maybe more, because I met some people who are very direct, but I think that they cross the border of politeness, because they are rude. And I was at the party once when people started to discuss, that's why I was just thinking, and somebody very directly told something, and then people were just, why do you insult someone in such a way? Of course, it's true what you are talking, but you shouldn't talk it in such a way in public. This person, it can be told nicer. So I think that it should be golden middle fine between being direct and being well-mannered.
Just a little provocation. Do we have to teach manners by explaining them or by showing them? Kinga.
My answer is by show, by presenting them to the others only, because you can produce as much as word as you like, but without the content and exact, acting, there's no teaching. And like you guys, you teach, I believe, by practicing, right? English or any other skills, skiing or whatever you like. But I would like to just get back to one thing. Vadim, you mentioned how we are able to estimate or to see whether the manners comes from somebody's character or this is the way that someone was trained, actually. Only, and I believe a good psychologist can tell so, right? It's not our, I think, there is no need on our side to see whether this or that. Unless you're a psychologist and you like to spend time analyzing people and creating profiles and so on. But I just only talk about, again, my personal perspective. I take people as they are. That's it. What they want to disclose, that's perfect. They don't want, I have no right to interfere in anybody's business life. I can see myself, like somebody was hurt, I don't know, someone is reluctant to speak about their personal perspectives and stuff, but that's not my business. Getting back to Zosia, what she said, again, a comment about nation, Polish nation, because I'm Polish, you're Polish. I believe, and maybe you disagree, or you guys, the other Polish present here, you will disagree with that, but I think the Polish bear high inferiority complex. But I don't mind to say to someone, if someone says to me directly, you're stupid, as long as he or she is able to justify that, okay? Because I accept everything from anybody, and if it's direct, I'm not telling to someone to scream and shout in my face or something like that. But as my Lord, he has this habit, to teach us how to discuss in very personal way, and I take everything what the other says. But again, in our nation, everything has to be done just in time, nicely, PPT, I don't like that. I prefer someone who is very sharp and direct. Because at least I know who I'm dealing with, and what I got is what I see. So as simple as that. And regarding this inferiority complex, it's related to our behavior because most Polish think that neither sweet nor sweet, you know. So better to be nice, kind, you know, pretending to be polite, well-mannered. But if it comes to a certain point, they will not hesitate to stop you. This is what I hate, actually. If you don't like someone, express it. I don't like you, buddy. I think you're stupid. I'm telling you. That's just an example. I'm sorry. No. I didn't mean that. But this is like, if I don't like, I'm just sending the signal directly. I don't, and I'm avoiding this person because I don't want to spoil my, I don't know, well-being or my the mood I have at the moment, right? So I don't know if you guys, because only foreign can see this. From the outside. I believe that's very Polish attitude, to be like nice, polite, blah, 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 pretending to be so kind, and yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it myself. So that's the general comment about the Polish edition. This is what I don't accept it.
Okay.
What about the English? Let's talk about the English then.
I'm sorry.
Talking about good manners, and so they're the masters of good manners, aren't they?
Absolutely.
But only public schools, middle class. No, those guys from Liverpool, you know.
What against
downtown, yeah.
It's not the same, that's right.
Zosia.
Okay, just one thing, just to avoid any sort of misunderstanding. I wasn't pretending to be nice, polite. I wasn't talking about this style, but the situation which I saw was of course direct, but direct to the border of swearing at someone publicly, so it is mutual insult.
No, absolutely. This is
No, don't do that. You raise your hand, you speak later.
My lord, my apologies.
So can you just to explain completely, I was talking about such situation that someone was, I think, direct about till this, in my opinion, wasn't direct style. It was just insulting someone, because when you use swearing to be direct, it's, I think there's the border, because you can tell, of course, someone you're stupid. But by telling this and swearing later, it's already different, because okay, direct style is always true, so it should be always appreciated. I fully agree. But if direct styles means swearing at someone publicly, I think it's not at all. So this is what I meant. That it should be that it can't be to this border, and unfortunately, it wasn't very pleasant to see something like this, because of course direct is very nice, but there are some borders in being direct. This is what I meant. I didn't mean exactly to be always nice, polite, and so on. No, but of course, by being direct, there are also borders, no swearing or insulting anyone.
Okay, just a little provocation, and then Richard. Do exist countries with more and countries with less manners? Richard.
It's exactly the topic I was about to discuss, so thank you for bringing it up. I'm thinking about the history of manners and the geographical distribution of manners. Actually, manners have a very rich history. There have been civilizations which have been based on manners. One of the civilizations I may think of is actually the Latin civilization. There's a special word for manners which was called decorum. That is the art of public comportment, how you comport yourself in public. And if you were ill-mannered, actually there was a public offense. It means that you were against the public order, against the guards, and you can even be punished for being ill-mannered. Another highly mannered society is China and Japan, where they have this idea of public face. So if you are ill-mannered, you lose your face, and it's also a social contravention. That is, you are working against the society as such if you exhibit ill manners in public. But it's only decorum. That is, it's a public face that you put up, because Chinese are famous for being ill-mannered in semi-public life. That is, there are lots of Chinese who are a scourge of hotels and tourism in the Western countries. That is, we treat them as ill-mannered, whereas for them it's natural. So the thing which is good manners for them are ill manners for us, and the other way around. For example, when we give a present to a Chinese, could you be a Chinese now? there is my present for you. and I give it to you, and I'm ill-mannered. You know why? Because I should have handed in with 2 hands.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a present for you, and I bow. So exactly. So this is what is natural for us, and it's ill-mannered for them. So each culture treats the other culture quite often as ill-mannered, without this other culture being aware of it. That's it.
King.
Comment to Risha. As you know, all is related, unfortunately, to the religious views, and they follow Confucianism, right? All the Asian, yeah, Korea the same, and the hierarchy everywhere. I've been working for Korean for some time. I've been working for Japanese too. When the delegation goes on a business trip, the president takes the highest level in every hotel, and the personal assistant needs to make sure before she will book it, actually. Those, like, you don't use the red. Also, the personal question, you have the red color on business cards, yeah, because it's related to death and burial and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're allowed, opposite to European, let's say, ask very personal questions during interviews to the potential employee of yours, right? Like she's, are you married? Or why you want to work if your husband is a millionaire and has own business? How many children you have and at what age? And which kind of school they attended? Yes, I've been facing this myself. So, not acceptable, most probably. For Polish would consider this as a curiosity, a little bit too far. British would not accept it at all, right? Things like that, and just to be aware about that. I don't want to say which one is better, but it has to be something like universal code of conduct and daily or interpersonal or business relations especially. Because, fine, fair enough, I've studied, I've been traveling, I know these things now. But the others, like my sister, for instance, she may not know that. So by then, as a second, the other party will be considered as unmannered, very bad behavior, misconduct and stuff like that. Well, it's just, you know, it's about learning. I'm used to European standards, so. Plus on top of that, you have the individual personality, which is more expressive, less expressive, and so on. But there is a need to create something like a universal rules for business, conducting the business. I think so. Sorry. E punto.
No problem. Don't be too much mannered now.
Don't hold back.
So how can we make a universal way of behaving? A universal code?
I can't. You see somebody or somebody else.
It's also
fiber.
I have the idea because, of course, there are many nations and the codes, every manners can be different. So the most, because such code, I think it should be as objective as possible, and at the same time, it should aim to be respectful to every nation. So actually, I think that is at the same time that is the most objective and quite hard way would be to try first of all to gather majority of rules and then to try to choose those which will be the most suitable, I think, which will be at the same time the easiest to obey, and at the same time they will have something in common with our culture. So I think that would be the best way, the most objective, to just be fair to everyone. But the question is if it is possible.
Kinga, then Vadim, then Michael.
If you like to gather books, like I have a big library. In 18th and 19th century, there was a lot of releases in the Savoir Vivre, French one, which actually bring all the rules, how to behave. And we also have a diplomatic corps code of conduct. maybe it's a good idea to scribble it down in some ways. And I'm not telling it's like the Constitution of the Republic of Poland and spread it all over every flat. But I believe it should be accessible for anyone. It should be part of learning. And if you have ambition in Polish nation is like overeducated, I would say. We have available diplomas with Mickey Mouse stamp, as I said, like by all these marketing schools and stuff. But cultural awareness, it should be actually the major class in every middle or high school. And it's not my idea to actually bring this to attention of the others or make it part of, I don't know, maybe knowledge about the society or something like that. There's a major code called Without Społeczeństwo, knowledge about the society. That's compulsory faculty you need to go through this, and I believe it should be part of teaching. And teaching by practice also, but being exposed to the others and seeing how things are. But if there are books in 19th century like Savoir-vivre and Bon Temps, so why we are not able to create, I don't want to say this corporate bloody language like universal code of conduct or blah blah blah. No, something like that. Very handy, very concentrated, to the point, structured, and then distributed to the backup. You know? Being sarcastic about it, but that's an idea. Maybe scribble it down somewhere or write down. And do it that way. I mean, before you started philosophy, Guido, I think you've been through a lot of books, right?
Which sense?
And in the sense that before you started to do something like, and like myself, before I had a major in economics, I've been reading a lot of books.
Oh yeah.
Right? To first of all exercise the knowledge and use it, and then create something of my own, right? So the same with every aspect of life, I believe.
Vadim.
Thinking about manners sort of brings to mind. Obviously, we have different behaviours in different cultures, different countries, as we discussed. I was thinking maybe it's perhaps part of all these different cultures it's very much part of who we are, who these other people are as well. You know, it could be the language, the traditions, customs, and also the manners as well. And I think perhaps it would be maybe good for us to try as much as possible to understand all these manners as being part of the culture as well. So sort of to increase our knowledge, and maybe this would make it easier, you know, to know how to behave, but also to appreciate these differences, and because I think it is part of the culture, and why not? You know, often all these situations are because of lack of knowledge of other cultures, and manners are very much part of these cultures as well. So let's learn more about these differences, and let's embrace them.
Michele.
Yeah, in my opinion, manners is going down from the historical point of view, also for some historical reason. We came from the decorum, from French, from Great Britain, that has a very well planned and good way of very good manner behavior. And then arrived the United States. In my opinion, United States takes obviously forced the globalization for a lot of business stuff and so on, and also take the direct way of talking with the people, and that is very good for business, because when you are in a table discussing about money, how we want to mainly to do money. I have to do money, you have to do money, yeah, not be too formal, yeah, we don't need the Emperor of Japan, so so for this reason, in my opinion, man went down. Also in business, it's not easy to put down a code of how to also go into trade show in the Far East. I was very surprised the first time they gave you, as said before, the business card with the and you have to read deeply or seems so that you are reading deeply.
90 degrees.
Exactly. Losing 15, 20, 30 seconds on reading the business card and only 3 lines. So, well,
and the memorize a phone number.
But at the end, they are very, they want that. At the beginning, if you are not doing that, they talk with you only 1, 2, 3 minutes. And if you read deeply the business card, you are well accepted with them. So it is not accepting their behavior, but it's taking a key for talking better with them. Right now it's very difficult. Only in social life you can have some good manner, because but also in this here in Poland, sorry. We have some strange situation. Men wearing good suit or shirt coming from outside. From some obviously Polish men are see not as heterosexual but homosexual because they are well suited. And a lot of metrosexual, Italian guy were
for us
insulted because they were good,
well dressed.
Well dressed, and something,
Who was insulted? Italian guy was
insulted?
Yeah,
they're seen as gay.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens, but
it's
country factor.
It's said, but for us, for me, going outside without a shirt. I'm not feeling comfortable. So for me, it's a good manner. I'm not judging the other people if they are not wearing shirts, obviously. But for me, it's my personal good manner. And with the new globalization and the forced individualization of people, because right now, what is happening is to countries are disappearing, also as an individualism at the United States way is growing up. So having a worldwide good manner list is quite difficult. But interesting, possible, for sure. I will put shirt. For everybody, obviously, Italian shirt.
Shirts are allowed.
Italian shirt.
Obviously. there is other Italian shirt.
Oh God.
You want to say something before the go? No. Papatki. Okay, Cinzia.
Okay. What was I going to say? Yes. Talking about the idea of culture and manners. It is true that much of the differences in certain behaviours, certain manners, what's accepted and not accepted, is deeply embedded in culture. But there are certain basic human transactions, shall we say, transactions or interactions between individuals, and how they're regulated also reflects very much the role of the individual, the status of individuals in society and things like that. And it's even varied in language and things. I remember in one of the English classes, one of the textbooks had a little story about an English woman who married a Russian guy. And there was the debate over tea, and who makes the tea and the manners associated with serving the tea. You know, when you want tea, the Russian, the husband being Russian would just say, make tea, give me tea, these sorts of things, not embellish with any please or thank you. And it frustrated the English wife a great deal. I think they were, I can't remember if they were living in England or whatever, but anyway, and he couldn't see the point of saying please or thank you. Well, we're married and, I care and all this kind of thing. What's the big deal? But it frustrated her endlessly. And then she went and visited the family in Russia, and she kind of saw in the context that was how they manage their domestic affairs as well. So within the family, it was accepted that that's how they would say, you know, tea and so serve the tea. So they arrived at their own equilibrium. When they're serving the tea, shall we say, English style, it's all please and thank you. So depending on who is making the tea and who has asked for the tea, it will be with manners or without manners. And if it's Russian style, it's in Russian without the please and thank you.
So they're throwing coins or rocks to select which one?
As the mood took them. I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago I read this story, and it was kind of interesting. It was to raise the awareness of how the language is. But it's also even the fact of you approach someone and saying, hello, da-da-da, I was wondering if you could, the way in English we soften what we're going to say if we're going to ask something or deliver bad news is not to be, it's not hiding, it's actually trying to recognize you as a person, you've got your own ideas, your own thoughts, your own feelings about something, and I'm about to intrude on your little personal space and ask you to do something or give me something. Or I'm about to deliver some bad news and I feel bad about the fact that I have to do that. So for me, it's kind of a recognition. Every country has their own way of doing it. But in China, like you said, there's the issue of the public face and things. And again, this is a recognition not so much about the role of the individual of society, but the importance of society. Yes. So if you look at, the way manners are regulated, the kinds of rules, the kinds of things you have to do, it's to maintain order. As I was saying to you earlier about Japan, and you go there and everyone's so polite, and in China, and you're talking about countries that are so populous, there's just so many people that somehow they need this invisible infrastructure to regulate how people deal with each other so that they, it minimises conflict. And, but unfortunately, these systems can go too far and people can hide behind them or get lost in them. So that's the thing, if there's a point, how to codify it. I think perhaps there are some universal elements, almost like an extension of human rights, as Zosha said about respecting individuals or respecting people. It's not saying the individual in society is important, but saying that everyone is important and society is important and we want it all to work well. And perhaps maybe not regulate everything, and also kind of maybe have a federal system of code of conduct, recognising regional differences, but recognising there are some universal, just basic universals. I don't know, throwing it out there.
Just a little provocation then, Vadim. Are good manners just about behavior or even about food and clothes? Because while Michele was speaking, I remember that in Italy, for example, we cannot drink cappuccino after 11 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Just mad.
A German stuff.
You do something like that, you just lose all your friends.
After 11 a.m. or p.m.?
A.m.
It's a breakfast thing, like
Is
cafe
it?
latte.
Yeah.
Drink cafe latte.
Okay.
Maximum can be a macchiato.
Macchiato.
Yeah.
Macchiato.
Yeah, no more milk than that.
And so I was just asking if maybe here for Polish people it's quite strange to be that, for example, for me to go without shirt to an exam is very impolite or stuff like that. I don't know, just a little provocation. Vadim.
Just a couple of quick anecdotes. Speaking of Japan, I remembered when we visited, we went to Japan, we stayed there for a couple of months traveling, and was on the topic of manners again. And it's interesting in Japan because they are very polite. They are very, very kind. They always very willing to help tourists and people, foreigners, but people who are visiting Japan, who are tourists. But the moment they discover that you actually live there, then things change really dramatically, because then you become a gaijin, which is a foreigner, and all the good manners, everything sort of falls apart, and then they become very nasty towards you. And actually, we met an American fellow who was there in Japan, and he pretty much lived there, but he would always say that he was always visiting. He actually lived there in Japan.
Sorry, I'm visiting
Exactly.
the office.
Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah.
Always a tourist.
Because
So
otherwise,
what was happening to these long-term gay genes there?
well, they just treated differently.
Just give us examples. What was ill-mannered towards them?
Can you raise your hand? Okay. Just answer now. But
There's a question. I'm not saying.
yes, asking you. But even for a question, you just have to raise your hand.
sorry.
Just for the next time.
All right. I'll be good mannered.
Good.
Oh, good manners.
Well, basically they just become really more abrupt. They don't sort of they're not as polite. They're not as thoughtful, and yeah, they sort of well, you're just the foreigner, but not in a good way, not in a good way, in a good sense. You know, if you're a tourist, you're a visitor. You're coming there to visit. So they obviously they want to be a good host because you're coming to visit. Like they sort of coming to visit their house. They sort of want to be good hosts. But if you're staying there, if you're living there, you're not.
Examples, please.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
right.
maybe I can. I guess it's a certain sense from reading as well and talking to this same guy that you met. There's a kind of ingrained sense of superiority, and so they can't accept that anyone can ever become Japanese. So, because Japanese is something you are born, it's an ethnicity, it's a country, there's all of these things wrapped up in it. So you can never become Japanese. They are so very proud of their language, and it's impossible for any foreigners to ever actually learn it properly. So there's just no way. So even if these Americans learn the language and things, quite often, and in fact this fellow said that, he barely speaks Japanese when he goes into shops because he finds that they pretend they don't understand him, even though he speaks it quite well. He'll go into Starbucks and order a coffee, and they won't understand him. If he orders in English, they'll understand him. So little things like that, they can't acknowledge that you can learn the language. And then there's, like, as visitors, it's okay, you come in, you eat Japanese food and that, but this guy explained to us that there are lots of really interesting things about the regulation of Japanese society, how they regulate, for example, even the plumbing and buildings and things. They deliberately adopt different building standards and things, quite apart from the issue of dealing with earthquakes. But the voltage, the wiring, and all of these sorts of things, so that it's totally different from anywhere else in the world. So they're not worried about standardizing with anywhere else. They'll make standard stuff to sell, but within Japan, it's all different. They actually are taught from very young that they have an extra meter of digestive tract in their system to specifically digest Japanese rice. So there's all of these things that are really tightly bound up in that. So how can you, as a foreigner, live forever to the end of your days in Japan? It's not possible. And to integrate, I mean, you go into the subway, the trams, the trains, the buses and things, and the Japanese people, they're getting taller, but they are of a certain height. And it's about my height, it's pretty good for me, but some of these Americans are 6 foot tall, and so they stand out. And it's really interesting to see the Americans that have been there a long time, that are not tourists, they actually close in on themselves. So someone who's 6 foot tall, I looked at him and I thought, oh my goodness, he's actually shrunk. You can actually see that they close in on themselves, they plug in their MP3 and read a book, so that they are as invisible as possible, and they take up as little space as possible. So they really take it in, this idea of being invisible in Japan. So, it's interesting. So yeah, how they're dealt with in society and things, a little bit. So if you're a tourist, you're exotic and fun. But if you're living there, then there's something not quite right. Yeah, they can't accept it. Yeah, more or less.
So, if somebody wants to say something else, otherwise I will give Cinzia the conclusion of the cafe. And yeah, because you started the topic, you have to finish it.
Oh yeah, well.
So now, just a moment. Do you have some questions? Somebody else want to add something?
Just
Vadim?
10 seconds. Just remember, just another.
Even 12.
Another anecdote. And I had some Polish friends, and they went to Germany to visit some other friends there, a German family, and again it was about manners, and it was a pretty long trip, and they arrive a bit late at these people's house, and they want to take a shower. And they ask, oh, can you just take a shower? And the German families are, sorry, we can't actually let you do it because it's after 10 p.m. and this might disturb the neighbours. The noise of the water flowing in the shower might disturb the neighbours, so you can't do that. But
they have to die.
So that's one side. That's the one side. But the other side, I think, was the day after, the following day or something. At the table, everyone was enjoying a lovely sort of lunch or dinners, whatever. And the Germans, that's what they told me, I'm not sure, to express appreciation for the food, they burp quite vigorously. Let's just put it this way.
Heartily.
It's quite openly. They sort of, and it's seen as it's a good appreciation. It is an appreciation of the food. And obviously these other Polish people were sort of taken a little bit taken aback because they sort of
scandalized.
So yeah, speaking of manners, a couple of examples.
Somebody else? Something?
Come on, Anna.
Kinga, do you want to add something?
Please.
No.
Don't hurt my feelings. You're hurting my feelings not saying anything.
Then Cinzia,
Okay.
please give us a conclusion.
A conclusion is that there's no conclusion. I guess, well, it's
That was a very easy one. You can do better, I believe.
It's cheating, I know. Actually, it just reminds me, everyone knows the film I, Robot, but I read the book by Asimov. I, Robot, the film, Will Smith?
Will Smith.
Yeah. Okay, so it's set in a society in the future, and, you know, because manners is also ideas, notion with modesty and so forth. And it's very interesting, you know, like we have rules, etiquette and things, how, like, when you can talk to someone, you can't talk to someone. And the population density in society is not shown in the Will Smith version. Everyone has big apartments. Instead, in the book, there's so many people that, in fact, they have communal showers and things. The apartments are very small. And you go there, but you don't acknowledge anybody when you go there. You go and have your shower. It might be a closed cubicle or whatever. But no one actually talks to each other as they go to the bathroom or go to the shower or whatever. There's no interaction. It's like there's no one there. You're in your private shower and you don't talk to anybody. So so I guess wherever, like this is, I guess trying to say that whatever time or whatever place, social rules seem to develop automatically as a function of the needs and other exigencies, other requirements of society at a point in time. What makes it complicated is